Hi, I'm Lou Rosalia, and this is Crew Call. Can billionaires be funny? That's just part of the discussion on today's Crew Call. And to help me with that are three guys that I consider pretty funny, some funnier than others. Mr. Joe Scacciaferro, Frank Scacciaferro, and Scott Glozzi. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Also, 3 billionaires.
Exactly.
Yep.
It looks like Dr. Seuss is or not Dr. Seuss, the Cat in the Hat is like hiding under the table.
What table? Where? Oh, there it is. I see it. Too funny. Too funny. All right, so here's the setup. It's going to take me a second, so bear with me on this one. I read this article that has to do with this Instagram post that's been going around. I read it in Vanity Fair, so I'll credit the magazine for it. And it's about Jeff Bezos and his girlfriend and Leo DiCaprio. They were at a film festival out in L.A. Have you guys seen this post at all? Okay,
Yeah.
so for those who haven't, it's
Leonardo DiCaprio, right?
yeah. Yes.
I'm more of a Michelangelo kind of guy, but
So it's DiCaprio in a tuxedo. He's two steps up. He's talking to Bezos, his girlfriend. She's looking at him like adoringly, and Bezos is just kind of standing there. And Barstool Sports kind of sent out this little Instagram that was like, this is funny, and check out Jeff, and she's lost in Leo's eyes type of thing. But we actually have the actual Instagram if you want to look at it. But anyway, that made me think about, or actually, I'm sorry, the actual article was, can billionaires be funny? And that's a tough question to answer because whenever you're around wealthy or powerful people, everybody's just kind of laughing regardless, or most people do. So I thought about that in the context of what you do in production, and I thought of what role does funny play in production? And I'm going to go to Joe and start out by asking Joe, is funny an adjective or a descriptor that you would associate with production at all?
If you've worked for Ferro Productions or me at any point in any company, it is the critical hire point. If you're not funny, if you don't make me laugh, you don't work for me.
Yeah, you know what? That's true. You always say that.
strictly hires comedians.
You always say that.
Yep.
How does it help? I mean, why is it important?
Because we don't save lives. We produce television. We do music. Don't take this stuff seriously. Mm-hmm. And you have to be humorous. You have to have a sense of humor. We work long hours. It's stressful. It's tiring. And if you can't crack a joke, or if you can't take a joke, you're in trouble. I'm going to give you a good for instance. And the three of us just worked together on a documentary, and they brought in the people who hired us. They brought in a local PA. They were from Europe. They hired some local people, us. They brought in this local PA who we didn't happen to know.
Right.
And, he was very professional. He's around us. He thinks that we're real. And he was being, righteous all the way through. And then we started ripping on each other. And then we started ripping on everybody around us. And then we started ripping on him. And this dude fired back so magnificently.
Really?
That within 10 minutes, I told him, "You're working for me. Don't worry about it. You got a job for the rest of your life." I said, just keep it coming. And he spent the entire day with us. Right, guys? Like he had worked for us for years.
And you know what? I want to amplify. A PA is production assistant, correct?
Yes.
So on the list of hierarchy, is that a powerful person that would fire back without being a little bit afraid, or no?
No.
Explain the dynamic a minute. Just wouldn't they?
No, it's no disrespect to production assistants, to PAs, but they're one step up from an intern.
Yes.
If you're an intern and somebody likes you, you become a production assistant. It's kind of the catch-all for a lot of stuff in production. But you're at the early edge of your career, and you should be respecting everybody around you, and you should be very serious about it. Unless you got a wicked sense of humor and you're working with us.
And it's a gutsy move to even just go for it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, gutsy or stupid, whatever it was perfect.
It's kind of a balance of both. I mean, you got to be clever about it. You can't just go, full throttle and let whatever is going on in your head out. I mean, you can be there. You could be disrespectful without being funny, or vice versa. Quickly.
Yeah.
And if you gotta like understand, the timing of making a joke or saying something, to someone, and understand who that someone is that you can say something to, and not overstep a boundary or say something just completely stupid and wrong to the wrong person.
Yeah, exactly.
That's more important, probably, Frank, the right person, because like he kind of gauged the situation and realized that, all right, Joe's making jokes, Gloss is making jokes, Frank's cracking, we're okay here. Yeah. But then I think there was an instant when the client came around and he kind of might have said something that was a little bit like, all right, we're not really joking anymore. Now we're actually, we're shooting and we got to be a little more serious. So the timing, and who you're around is important as well.
Just reading it, and like reading any social situation, but way more important in work, because in social situations you might get punched in the face. In a work environment,
you get fired.
You'll get fired, and you don't know who any of those people know.
And you don't you don't really get punched. You get like that bip. Remember the bip on the back of the head. It's more.
You get a bip from your buddy. You get punched in the face from somebody you just insulted that you don't know.
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
But I was going to say what Frank brought up was, because I pay attention, obviously, I have to. So I was watching him, and he interacted with us in one way, which was fun. But the clever part that I was paying attention to is he going to know to turn it off? How mature is he, really, which is what I'm looking at. And when the client came over, he became a PA, and he became very serious with his client, and he did da-da-da-da. And as soon as the client walked away, he turned back at us, and he was right back in it. And I was like, that is clever. Yeah. I mean, that's skill to know how to do that.
Yeah. So speaking about the skill of knowing when to joke around, Frank, I want to stick with this and the newer people. Is there some routine or is there a tradition in production where you guys have like this thing that can be funny? So I'm going to do this every single time. Like the old dumping of the Gatorade on the coach at the end of the game. Are there people when they come in like, oh, here's the new PA. Let's ask him for the whatever and see if you can find it.
Answer quick, Frank, before Gloss starts talking sports.
Well, it never was like something always specific, but it was something that I did to Gloss, and I did it to Pierre, another guy that works with us. I've done it actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, I've usually done it to most of the new pet ops that would work on the specific camera right next to me doing jib, and to me, it was hilarious. If you're new on camera and it's like one of your first shows, it's not funny at all. So during a commercial, like if they're turned and they're either looking at their phone or they're talking to somebody else next to them and they're not looking at their controls on their zoom control, there's a little dial on there that controls the speed of your zoom, and you can make it really slow or you can make it really fast. Making it fast would be really mean, because that would really screw you up. Making it really slow is hilarious.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So I think the first time the only time I did it to Gloss, he had to make it had to be one of his first shows. I knew he would be comfortable enough to not freak out.
Right.
Which is I'm not gonna totally burn you. Yeah. But to a point where the director was calling for. I did it during the commercial. He looked away for a second. I just walked over. It's a quick little dot. Walked over and just turned it real quick to completely slow, and he was.
I freaked out.
He was getting called to make a move from either a 2-shot down to like a single, and he goes to do it, and it's just like not moving, like moving so slow. And I see his eyes moving, I see his hands moving, and I'm dying laughing. I mean, we're on live TV, which is kind of screwed up, but
It's just fantastic.
it's yeah.
No,
it's
I don't
just-
think it was live. I think it was because it would be kind of dumb to do it on a live show. You know, it was definitely a taped show. You know,
Joe, where's the
but I
teleprompter?
remember that. I think an experienced camera operator would be like, oh, my zoom speed's down. You know, but a new guy that's like getting his first few tallies, you're like,
Yeah.
what the hell's? It feels like everything around you is just falling on you because you know, like
Yeah.
your sky is falling because you have no clue what's wrong.
It was like he went from sprinting down a track to like trying to run through mud.
That's kind of funny. And you know what?
But Lou,
Yeah.
Lou, let me give you the control room of what's going on when that's happening.
Go ahead.
Because these guys all have PL. So the director's talking to him. The producers, my row, are all talking to them. We're all watching the same move. And you're, okay, you know, go from a 2 to a single if that's what was happening. And you're going to go, the producers are going, let's go, move it. So the director's then yelling at him, Glass, go, push, go. Faster. The host is
go
going,
any
what the
faster."
fuck's he doing? Why is he doing that? Tell him to go.
That's why to Frank's point, you could set it for fast or slow. Slow is so much more painful and funny.
Yeah.
It just you could see it. You think I'd be sweating. I'd be like, why isn't this? You just got to be nuts. That's got to be nuts.
It absolutely is.
This is for Gloss first, and then the whole panel. Anybody wants to chime in? Not that you don't already, and talk over each other. Have you guys worked with anyone, crew or talent or management, whatever it is, that when you're with them and you're pre-show, that they seem really dry and not funny, whatever, and then all of a sudden when they get into their role, whatever it may be, they are absolutely killing it. Does that transition happen a lot?
These guys could probably have a lot more experience with that, but I do remember working way back, and there was a certain someone where every time he would be on camera with another certain female host, his voice would get like so much softer and more caring, and the whole crew knew about it. And so every time the segment would start, and he'd be like, "All right, I'm so and so, and I'm here with this wonderful lady," and he would talk like at such a different level, and it seemed like he just like didn't want to be mean or come across in your face, and so everyone was waiting for it. When it happened, it was one of those things behind the scenes. Everybody behind their camera looked at each other and start cracking up, But I don't know. I feel like a lot of personalities, they kind of, as soon as you're on camera, you change a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a lot different than interacting in person with somebody.
Yeah, it certainly is. Joe, how does the crew handle the opposite of that? Powerful people who aren't funny, but they think they are?
I don't know.
Because you only hire funny people, so how could you know? And you are one of the powerful people, so how could you know?
There are. You know what? Because I'm thinking about this. I think what I do is I intervene. If somebody's not like an EP or a sponsor or a network person who's coming in and observing, like we're animals in a zoo, because I love when they do that. It makes us feel really important. And here's our cameraman. And over here behind that's our... And this is... And I was like... Anyway, so I will jump in, because if they're making a joke that's inappropriate, the guys know not to fire back, not to say anything, and they just take it. I will always jump in and make a crack, because one, I have the temperament, two, I have the position that I can do that, and it's my way of falling on the sword so that I diffuse the situation before it happens.
So I guess
because there is a point at which those people are offensive.
Yeah,
they say dumb crap. I mean, it's offensive because they take it right to a personal level, and that ain't cool. So I'll usually jump in with a witty, cutting remark that shuts them down and embarrasses them, and they leave.
Yeah, I can see that happening for sure.
I'm fun to work with.
But I mean, you've always been. I mean, even since the beginning, like you've always been good about. Like again, we talk about that balance and knowing your place and the timing of when to do that. Of always at least either defending us, whether it be in a situation exactly like that, or just going to bat for us outside of, and just representing us. I mean, which is obviously, that's a part of your responsibility is to represent the crew. But not everybody does that. Not everybody goes to bat for their crew. Some people will throw their crew under the bus, and I mean, I've always respected that fact of you as a leader of us, and I think that everyone sees that, and that's why a lot of people, want to always come back and work for you and be loyal to working for you.
Yeah, no, thank you, but absolutely, and that's just who Scott Ferros are. I can't. It's an inherited trait to defend the weak and vulnerable.
Yeah, he's the zookeeper. He loves all the animals, and he knows that some people are mean to animals. Some people tap on the glass and try and pretend to throw food at them, and But when everyone leaves, he comes in and really,
That's fantastic.
He's very sensitive to everyone.
That's absolutely fantastic. And you know what, Frank, I'm going to stay with you because I want to go to mindset, and I want your feelings and opinion on. Is there a different mindset for you or the crew going in and working on a serious gig versus like a comedy festival, to make it two extremes? Do you go in differently?
100%. I mean, I'll stay on exactly what we just talked about before, this documentary that we were working on. I mean, it was something extremely serious.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we can really share about everything.
Yeah, I mean,
right
real
now.
quickly, it's a Holocaust survivor who was reliving she's 90 and she's reliving her whole venture. They traveled through Europe and came back into New York.
Yeah, that's serious. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing funny about any of it.
No, yeah, and there was a lot of moments. I mean, Gloz and I were the camera ops in their when they were here in New York,
right?
And we were working very closely with the woman that was the survivor, and she's an older woman, but she was extremely witty, very with it, and she was now at the end of their travels here. This was like New York was the last stop because this is where she ended up coming. So she was very used to having people around her. But Gloz and I coming through Ferro, and also just like, it probably just comes from your own upbringing of your family. We were very serious, but also it felt more like we were a part of their family. You know what I mean? So we had a different way of speaking to her. And so it was very comfortable, but still we're still doing what we need to do, as opposed to like going to doing a comedy show or something where it's, a lot more loose and like lively and people are making off-color jokes or whatever like that. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a completely different mindset. You could still be yourself, but it's just a different side of yourself, and you need to that timing that we keep talking about. Sure. And not overstepping a boundary, like things like that, like it really, you really have to be on top of your game for those.
Yeah, let's unpack being yourself a little bit, and I want to go to Gloz. You're pretty much a naturally funny person, Gloz. Do you find it beneficial bringing that aspect of your personality to work?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we make a funny joke and everyone laughs. It kind of brings a certain crew together, you know. And I don't make that my mission on shoots, but I like to bring an element of pleasantness with me to work, and it's like we've been talking about. There's a time and a place for it, like when we're done with rehearsals or if we're just meeting for the first time, you learn who's who. You get a little comfortable with each other. You realize no one important's around, and you joke a little bit, You make it known that your personality is a big personality and that this is who you are, and people are going to get along with you. If they don't like you, then don't really come near me and leave me alone on set, and we'll get our job done and get out of here. But yeah, I think that it kind of relaxes a crew a little more, because a lot of times, and we've talked about it on the show before, you're meeting people for the first time when you're on set and when you're out on location, or even when you're just in studio for the first time with certain people and they don't know you, Right. So you gotta not overstep your boundaries and be I guess funny in a certain way if that's who you are, and just be pleasant to work with in whatever situation you're in.
Joe, Gloz alluded to this just now. Using funny as a crutch. Do you find, is it a tool that talent or crew uses when they make a mistake or they're nervous? They fall into something, dum-dum comedic to try and overcome that. How often does that happen?
Enough that it's annoying.
Okay, go ahead.
Again, it's amazing because it's all delivery, it's all style, it's everything else. If you screw up and you make a mistake and you do something wrong, there's a way that you can joke about it, but if it actually creates a problem, especially if it creates a problem for me financially, or we were redoing it, or our reputation's on the line, you got to back that down. And I'll usually, it's hard. My family, the way I raised the kids, there's one word that I use all the time. You can do anything. It's all about timing. Everything is timing. You have to know that. Once you get that rhythm, and it's not just with what we do, it's across the board.
Yeah,
it's everything, every part of your life. You have to know when and where you can do what. So yes, it's annoying at times when people screw up and then they try to make light of it because we're a lighthearted crew.
Yeah.
But there's a time at which you have to just say, hey, dude, I'm really sorry. I screwed that up. I apologize. Yeah. I will then lighten it up.
Yeah.
I will then, but not comedically. Don't worry about it. We all made mistakes. We'll all keep moving. We'll just keep moving on. I appreciate the fact that you recognize it's wrong. Just don't do it again, and I'll hire you again.
Yeah. Lou, real quick, I just want to connect and punctuate something else, because it just came to me before when you were asking that same question, but it has to do with both of those points.
Sure.
Of the mindset and timing of situations, especially on like a more serious gig, or just in like some type of interview, right? Like with anybody, understanding the seriousness of the moment of the content that you're happen to be shooting or something like that is also extremely important. So you have to always have that mindset and be paying attention to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like if I'm shooting something that I can tell that the interview is getting, like whatever they're speaking about is getting extremely serious, or it's like a very dramatic moment. I mean, there's a way to push that through, not in any other way than just, moving in really tight on somebody's eyes, or if they're, and I'm talking about the camera moves, to kind of bring that situation out just visually, right? And like understanding those moments and when to do it. Because I mean, if they're telling a funny story, why would you be tight on their eyes? Or there's something like that. Yeah. But if they're telling a story and you do like that slow push, where maybe the slow zoom would actually really come into to effect.
Call back.
You do like a nice slow push into that lands really tight on their face, and you got to kind of, it's like music. I mean, like when I shoot music, you got to feel the moment of that and kind of ride that same feeling. So it's connect, but you have to, if you do that at the wrong time and you don't understand that, then you can completely screw up a whole shot and not
completely. Yeah. Frank, what happens on live TV, live, when funny isn't funny?
It gets extremely awkward.
It's got to, right? It's got to.
I've worked on plenty of shows, that people are not funny at all, and it's awkward for everyone. I mean, it's more awkward for everyone in the room. Yeah. Because if they're kind of like, if they're up there, I mean, think of like a stand-up comic that's, in a place of 100 people or less. Actually, it's probably worse when it's less people, and you make a joke and no one's laughing. Yeah. Right? You're looking around expecting people to laugh. Same thing goes for a host that's in a crew of, let's say, a few A2s and like 6 camera people in there, and there's not a live audience. So it's really we're their live audience, other than the the viewers at home that are watching. But it's more awkward because now it's like you're kind of throwing looks at the other camera guys or anybody else is in the room, like this is really awkward. So I feel like it's more worse for us because I'm not going to fake laugh at something if I don't think it's funny.
Scott, I want to take the other side of that. What happens when funny is really, really funny on live TV, and then the crew gets the giggles or the host can't stop laughing? What's that like?
Yeah, well, a lot of times it happens, and a lot of times you're allowed to make a little noise and laugh, and a lot of times you're not. So I guess it comes with situational awareness and knowing what show you're on, because a lot of shows I've worked on, they're okay with having some background noise and hearing some giggles, and they actually encourage it. To the point where they say, if something funny happens, I want to hear a little bit of the crew laughing, because a lot of times you'll see the talent look past the cameras and look in the background. They're kind of fishing for laughs. And as Frank said, sometimes it's awkward, but sometimes you kind of have to play to it because shows put the personality of their crew and their sets in their shows. It's kind of like if you have a live studio audience and you're hearing them in the background laugh, it's kind of similar to that. But yeah, you try to keep your laughs under, under wraps and behind the scenes, but sometimes you just can't help it. Something so funny happens where you're laughing.
That's funny. You know what? I just recall this. I remember going to the Letterman show at the Ed Sullivan Theater, and they had that stupid laugh sign. I'm like, wouldn't people know to laugh? I mean,
sometimes people aren't funny.
Yeah, hence this episode.
You have to laugh.
Joe, speaking about,
I've always wanted to work on a comedy like a comedy special, and I still haven't. And I mean, that's definitely, as far as like career goals. Like, yeah, I've done a lot of stuff, but I've never worked on like a big time comedy show, like where I'm working as a cameraman. Because especially, and if I'm going to say one person that I absolutely want to do, it would be a Dave Chappelle. If I could work on one of his specials, like every time I watch him, all I do is watch the cameras and want to be the jib guy.
Why are you fascinated with that?
Because I've never done it, and it's something, and I don't go to a lot of comedy shows, and I especially him. I've been watching him since he was young, and I know people that worked. I know the jib op that worked on the Chappelle show before it went off the air. Yep. And I mean, he was telling me like stuff where it's just, he's like, dude, he's like, half the time he's like, he's making stuff up, and he's like, we're all laughing. Because that's what I asked him the same question you just asked. I was like, how do you work on these skits and like not crack up the entire time? And he was like, we do. He was like, it's hard not to.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. It's just one thing I've always wanted to work on, and I've let the people that I work for, Chuck, the jib god on the East Coast here, know that if any of that opportunity comes up, that I would definitely like to be a part of it. Yeah.
Joe, Frank just spoke about the work environment and laughter and keeping it light. Do you find any benefit, or do you have a preference in the temperature and climate of the work environment you create being more on the lighter side, or do you think you get more out of people being more militant? Because you can be both. No one has to say anything. He can be both.
Yeah, I think I rather keep it, and I do, on the lighter side. But for new people coming on, I'm very cautious to make them comfortable. I don't make them uncomfortable, but I don't want them to be so comfortable that they don't remember that I'm actually in charge and that I actually know what I'm doing. And that's something I learned early on running a business. I tried, because I was the same age as a lot of people that I was hiring, and we'd go out and party and hang out and do stuff afterwards. It was really hard then to come back and get everybody lined up the way they had to be. So I learned, I got to chill. These guys have traveled with me on the road when we've been out. I don't go party with the crew. As much as I'd love to, as much as I get along with the crew, it's inappropriate for me to be there. It's just, it doesn't fit.
Right.
So, there's a balance, as everything we've talked about.
Yeah.
There's a balance. You can do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And then the people that have been with you the longest, or people that are closer in age, there's different bonds, and there's just different vibes. It's human. It's no different than society.
Yeah, it's like we were saying, situational awareness, when to be, funny and appropriate and whatnot. Frank, in your experience over the years, have you found any relationship between the type of gig that it is and the overall personality of the crews that work them?
Maybe a reoccurring thing.
Okay.
Yeah, but not like it's not like you. I mean, because you don't know. I guess you would. Yeah, you would. I mean, I feel like this is more of a question for Joe, because he would hire certain people that can understand, that know. If he understands a certain gig, right, that we're doing, and he knows that it's okay, I can just grab whoever, they understand the environment and that. But if it's something like very specific to a specific type of environment, like this thing that we just spoke about before, that documentary thing, I mean, he knows how Gloz and I work, and he knows how we can do the professional thing, but also can banter and talk and have that kind of family feel when we're not actually shooting. I mean, it was very intimate settings that we were doing, and it was a small group of people, and even at we did like a dinner talk scene, and there was a lot of conversation going on, but it also just felt like we were at like a family dinner.
Right.
And like Gloz and I, Joe knows that Gloz and I can drop into that and not be either uncomfortable in the situation,
Right.
and know how to handle everything in that, from actually shooting and working to, chatting with people in between that, to make them feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Because you could easily have two people that are not good in those situations, and it could change the actual whole dynamic of the entire shoot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, and it could make people feel uncomfortable, and it could make people not share stuff.
Yep.
So yes, I guess. To answer your
Yes,
question.
Joe. Anything to add to that? Since Frank half threw that to you and then answered the whole thing.
Yeah, no, actually, there's an aspect of this that when we're doing interviews, and it's a proxy interview where me as the producer are interviewing the subject, and everybody knows this. You might not know how it's going down, but any documentary, History Channel, Discovery, blah 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 blah, Science Channel, when you have that person looking off camera like this, talking, they're actually talking to the producer who's doing the interview. And then that's kind of that weird angle thing that has become traditional and customary. In those moments, my personal style is to not break eye contact so that it becomes conversation. Because I can get so much emotion and I can go deep when I want to. I can control the conversation if I don't break eye contact.
Right.
If I don't do unnatural movements. I know plenty of producers who are in that situation. They have a set of questions in front of them. They ask a question, and as the person's answering, they're talking to the camera op going, yeah, pushing a little tighter here. I want to see more of that. How does that shot look? That's just disrespectful. It completely destroys what you're trying to accomplish. But that camera person is, to me, like a musician. If that's my guitar player and we're going to go vamp for a minute, the drummer's got to be in the groove, the guitar player's got to be in the groove, everybody's got to know where we're going, even though we're freelancing at that moment. Because I got to look, and I know Glaz and I've worked on, and I pick people for style and for personality, and it's not necessarily the style that I would recommend to somebody else. It's what I need at that moment. This gig, what we just did, Scott and I worked a Broadway show not too long ago. And it was that. I needed people who would understand the cabaret environment that we were in, the low lighting, the sense of the stage, because I can't direct every single nuance of what's going on.
Right.
Camera guys got to know how to do stuff. Audio guys have to know, okay, how to control stuff. So, yes, the answer to that question is there's a lot of that goes into the thought of who I hire for what I hire.
Yeah.
And smart producers, production companies have those short lists of people that are appropriate for different things.
Yeah. Back to funny and personality styles and all this other stuff. Glaz, I'm going to ask you and then open it to the panel. Is like Joe, I'm going to set the question up like this. Like when we look at bands, we can say, oh, that's definitely the bass player. Oh, or he's a drummer, I could tell. So you can almost tell what their instrument is based upon their personalities. Glaz, have you found in your trade that funny people are always the X audio guy?
Dude, yeah, the audio guy.
Is it really? I guess
I
right.
don't know
totally
what it
guess
is,
that.
but every single studio I've been in, the audio guy is always the guy that you want to go up and be like, what's up, Johnny? Like, what's up,
No.
Billy? Like, how you doing, man? Like, and he's always like the most personable, like, because they're the ones that are actually A2s, I'm sorry, more specifically, because they're always the ones going up to the talent, miking them up. They have to interact. You are having that close quarters interaction with people, so you have to be like, enjoyable to talk to.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is about them, but like, I could probably name a dozen of them that I have gotten into studios with, and I could just crack up with them, and like they make me laugh.
That's
so I'm
really
gonna say
funny.
A2s, yeah, A2s, and I bet you both these guys will agree too.
And that's really funny because I totally guessed audio. I was just picking stuff out of the air.
No,
but
it
you know
is.
what, Joe? Mike Fortunato, who we have a bunch of stuff on Ferro TV. You got to watch his stuff. This guy kills me. I was working on some of his stuff last night, and I am dying. His stories are the best, and he's so deadpan. And the work is so serious. Like he was talking about iHeart Music Festival, where they were pushing the bands up the risers, the equipment, and he talked about how they had all the stage hands and they're pushing it, and they're pushing the whole percussion, I guess, unit up and right over the front of the stage after announcing that they were the best stage crew in the world to Mike. And Mike's like, yeah, okay. He's the best.
I'd say there's a lot of characters, right? Like there's a ton of characters, but like as Klaus said, for some reason the most abundant ones are. I would probably agree with it as well.
So, and Frank, you just told me like they all have their own way of doing mic checks. You know, like
well, yeah. So that's a huge part. I was just telling Klaus about that the other day.
Go ahead.
Like the one guy we work with all the time, Chris Mers. Like everybody has their own thing that they say, like just to do a mic check. It's usually never mic check 1 2 1 2
Right.
3 4. It's never the numbers.
No.
Like Chris Mers is always like he'll be like peas and carrots, peas and carrots, peas and carrots, and then he goes Shosturkin, who's a goalie on the Rangers. It's like everybody has those little whatever their phrase is to do that.
So stupid, fantastic. But so funny. Yeah.
I can give you my instinctive reasoning why they are. They come into the industry the least trained to do something.
Okay.
Camera ops come in and they have a personality to be that. It's a skilled position. All these other positions come in skilled. Directors, producers. Audio guys it's a stumble on gig.
Really?
It used to be back in the day, it used to be like the mailroom guys. They were the entry level. Yeah, make them an audio person. And then, because it doesn't take a lot to learn how to pin a lav or put a mic at. The level gets really complicated and it's a very critical position. But that's why those people come in. A lot of A2s, not A1s, we're going to keep them aside, but a lot of A2s end up doing other stuff in the industry.
Yeah.
They kind of move on or they double up on some other gigs. Because you can hire an A2 for half rate and just show them how to do it and, just put a mic on. I mean, I could rattle off right now 15 A2s that had no reason to even be in the business. And they're all first calls,
funny.
including Mike.
That's fantastic. Well,
Mike
guys,
drove a truck for me for Triple S.
what was it? What you had that one truck? What was it? The Death Rumble? The Death?
The Death Wobble.
Tell the story quick, and then we'll end this funny episode. Go.
One of the trucks. Don't think Triple S was bad. Back in the day, we were a growing company, and we had different situations. So we had this van that we had to go deliver in New York City, blah 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 blah. But every once in a while, the steering column would disengage from the actual column that drove the front wheels. So as you're driving through the Lincoln Tunnel, all of a sudden your wheel would just be doing this, and the truck would then just be bouncing off the walls because it had no control.
That's what you want, yeah.
So it became known as the Death Wobble. When the drivers would come back, I had to make out. Death Wobble twice, no accidents.
That's crazy.
So
I always thought that was a Jeep thing, specifically the Death Wobble. I always heard that in Jeeps. I didn't know that was outside of for other cars.
The Death Wobble.
Well, guys, thank you so much for teaching me that funny does play a role in production, and I had a great episode, and I look forward to our very next one. Please take care, and I'll see you on the other.
All right.
Hang on.
Have a good one,
See you
guys.
Take care, guys.